4 years after Superstorm Sandy, the Jersey Shore is still recovering. We discussed the rebuilding progress from a local builder's point of view, and we revisited previous discussion on home fire prevention from the American Red Cross. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by AtlantiCare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas. Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. 4 years after Superstorm Sandy hit, the Jersey Shore is still recovering and uses lessons learned to be better prepared for the future. Let's listen in to a recent news report on the 4th year anniversary of Superstorm Sandy from my friends at S&J Today.
Good evening and welcome to S&J Today News. I'm Michelle Dawn Mooney. 4 years ago today, South Jersey was bracing for the arrival of a storm that would have catastrophic effects in parts of our area. Since the arrival of Hurricane Sandy on October 29, 2012, a lot of hard work has gone into rebuilding communities devastated by that storm. Our Nina Barati spoke with Atlantic County's emergency services and a local business to see how they have bounced back.
I don't think that we are ever going to be back to normal. I don't think that this area will ever be back to normal.
It's been almost 4 years since Hurricane Sandy flooded and damaged many coastal areas across South Jersey. Some businesses had a tough time recovering, while others looked at it as a way to grow.
I don't think that we've dwelled on Sandy necessarily. We used it as an opportunity to continue to focus on the future.
Formica Brothers Bakery was shut down briefly when officials forced residents to evacuate Atlantic City. But they quickly got back into business when they saw their community was in need.
There were enough of us who were located and lived on Absecon Island, so we got back to the bakery, figured out what damage had occurred. We got back up and operating, but we never ever throughout the storm left anybody or after the aftermath without bread. We got them something.
Now with 85,000 pieces of bread made daily, Giampaolo says the bakery took the experience as a positive and finds ways to continue to grow. As for the county's emergency management team, they took their experience with the storm a little differently. Hurricane Sandy damaged critical infrastructure throughout the area, but the storm also revealed what needed to change.
Should we get faced with a similar storm, even a nor'easter, that might only impact us for a couple of days, we're going to apply some of those plans and implement some of those plans as far as flooding control, as far as evacuation, as far as rerouting traffic.
Storm drains have been improved, crucial facilities have been elevated, emergency generators have been implemented, and emergency service companies have better equipped rescue vehicles.
These are all good, positive things that came out of Sandy. I mean, the county is taking a large and strong stance when it comes to the economic development of this area, getting it back and getting it even better and stronger than where it was before Sandy.
4 years later, and South Jersey is still stronger than the storm. I'm Nina Barati for S&J Today.
Joining me to discuss more on Superstorm Sandy is Troy McAllister. Troy, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you.
And Troy, you're a builder, McAllister Homes Building Group. So from your perspective as a builder, how do you think we fare 4 years later after Superstorm Sandy?
It continues to be a struggle. A lot of folks are still not home, and everything starts kind of with the grant program. Essentially, that's what's funding 9 out of 10 projects that we do, whether it's a house raise, new construction, or house raise and general contracting, complete project, get someone home.
And we see in news reports of some of the angry homeowners who are still trying to get back into their homes. 4 years later, there have been some success stories, but certainly there's still quite a few that have not been able to either get the funding, or if they've gotten the funding, not able to complete the process. What have been some of the challenges?
Really the pace in which the funds come. The projects typically take about a year. 12 months is a typical, recovery project on a house raise or really new construction. And you've got just pressures from towns and cities. You've got a good amount of gymnastics, having the funds available to the owners to keep pace with, construction. And on top of that, there's contractor fraud out there, without a doubt. There's also, fund misappropriation by some owners as well. So just a lot of pressures. And then you've got, the frame of mind. These folks are definitely victims, and it's a long process. So it's been difficult for everybody.
Let's talk a little bit about the funding. There have been some, there's a RAMP program that's pretty much wrapping up, and that gave about $150 to be able to raise your home. And then there's also the GAP fund. Tell me a little bit about those programs and where they stand.
Sure. The REM program is winding down. It's estimated to be maybe another 12 months, but there are not taking new applications from folks. So it's more, just winding down. It is $150,000. We often find that the projects exceed that amount. So there's always, not always, but an unmet need is relatively common. And the other grants, whether state, the GAP grant that you spoke about, which is an incremental $30,000, that program wraps up, literally shuts the doors in December. So if your funds haven't been earmarked and drawn down, there's a chance that they'll be reduced or not there for you at all, certainly not beyond December.
So if you were counting on some funds from the federal or the state, you're kind of out of luck at this point.
That's a true statement. Any advice would just be, time is of the essence, because nothing seems to improve.
And I know that even with the RAMP program, there have been some appeals that have been successful. And in some cases, I know some homeowners have had to reach out to legislators to be able to get their full share, if you will, of the $150 out of the RAMP program. But if you're already in the program, you have a shot, but obviously no new applications.
That's correct. It seems there's a trend that if you've got a project that still needs to be completed, you're going to have to be a lot more self-reliant and find some private funds. We
want to walk through the process if you're interested in raising your home, what the process is. And you have some pretty good, amazing pictures that we'll share with the audience of how that work is done. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We'll continue our discussion on the rebuilding after Superstorm Sandy with Trey McAllister, owner of McAllister Building Group. And Trey, we were talking about some of the hardships people having to go through to try to rebuild. Part of it has been the funding issue. And I know some people have even given up. They've gotten the funding, perhaps the RAMP grant, and they still have been able to overcome the gap. The remainder is still there. And have you seen that some have given up?
We really have. There's typically an unmet need that exists, even if you're fully funded through the REM program, depending on the complexity of your project. And if you weave into that the red tape of the city and townships, what they provide, it's tough. And unless you've got private funds or advocacy, which is really constricted as well, there's absolutely folks that won't get home.
We do have some success stories, and obviously you've already raised about 50 homes, and you still got 50 on the pipeline. Let's walk me through a little bit about those success stories. Let's start with the process. What does it take to actually do this amazing work of actually raising a home?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We've got 50 folks home, including navigating them through the REM process. Right. And frankly, the construction often is the easy part with the process. We've got another large handful of folks in progress now on their way to get back home. But it's a 12-month process, starting with getting the grant kicked off, and the pre-construction process where you're developing plans and getting the project scoped together. And then you've got to perform the actual project. The house raising piece is a handful of weeks. Then you've got to go in and complete the house post-raise for folks to be able to move back home. So you're typically about 42 weeks, so almost a year. And that's with everything going very, very well. Wow. And not having funding holdups or anything else, which there usually is with the program.
And in the meantime, you have to provide shelter at another place while this process is ongoing. So it is a difficult time, I'm sure. And I have seen some of the amazing work that have taken place, and when these houses are actually raised. I understand you're even able to split a duplex. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the projects that we've done is a duplex, 2 homes attached, sharing the same party wall. We literally separated them and raised just one home, half of the structure. And it was a good option, especially in our county here with all the attached housing that's around.
Tell me a little bit about what we should look for in a contractor. If we're looking to raise a home, I mean, there's a lot of benefits, certainly insurance, flood insurance being one of them, because if you raise your home, you're probably going to have cheaper premiums than if you didn't. So what should we look for in a contractor? Raising the home might be the easy part, but what are some of the other things that we should be looking for?
It's a tough landscape, so you really want to find someone qualified, technically qualified to do this, but also that has a grasp on working with the grant program and has the ability to schedule and work around, the funding, release schedule, which is. Typically, you like to have projects go evenly and in tandem, and our production board looks more like that. So it's tough on contractors, certainly tough on owners as well.
Part of the reason why many contractors are not doing this anymore.
That's correct. We've had a good amount of fallout and small companies that just aren't able to, work under this or in this landscape. So
that's something unique to your group. You also give it back to the community. Tell me a little bit about that program.
Sure, absolutely. Something we just added, an attempt to do the right thing and give back. So we've got a donation program for each type of project we do in that particular town or city. A house raise has a certain monetary donation, our different project types, and something to give back to the communities a bit.
I saw the food bank being one of the recipients as well. We're going to be doing a volunteer day at the food bank this weekend, so it's good to see someone stepping up and helping local organizations. It's a great thing. Tell me a little bit about where you're located.
We're in we've got an office in Summers Point, and that serves our Atlantic County and Cape May County. And we've got another location in Little Egg Harbor, which helps with our Ocean County territory.
And just one final note in terms of the insurance. I know I mentioned insurance, but there is going to be more of a crackdown in terms of if you're near the shore and you're prone to flooding, that you must take preventive action like raising your home. What's going to be the outcome there for insurance premiums?
Homeowners that have not raised their homes and aren't compliant are certainly going to feel it with increased premiums and their flood insurance rates. Letters actually are starting to go out now, so it's
going to have a big impact, and the rates are significantly high already, so it's certainly another set of bad news, unfortunately, and the price you pay for living on the shore. Thank you for sharing this information, and please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. Well, on the subject of Superstorm Sandy, we wanted to revisit a previous segment on preventing disasters at home with a fire prevention discussion with Kara Korn, Executive Director of the American Red Cross Southern Shore Chapter. Let's listen in. Every year, the American Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters. The vast majority of these are home fires. Families lose everything from the roof over their heads, their clothing, and their most cherished possessions. To discuss how the American Red Cross is helping families during these disasters is Kara Cohen. She is the Executive Director of the Southern Shore Chapter. Carol, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you for having me tonight, Bert.
It is staggering how many disasters the American Red Cross responds to, and 66,000 is the national number. How bad is the situation here locally?
The situation is pretty staggering here as well. We're following the national trends, and the Home Fires campaign is easily the most aggressive initiative American Red Cross has taken to really respond to this national disaster. 7 times a day, someone dies as a result of a home fire, and a fire-related injury is reported throughout the country every 40 minutes. There's an annual average of about 2,500 deaths, causing almost $7 billion in damages. So we're taking this very seriously, and the national goal is to reduce death and critical injury by up to 25% over the next 5 years.
And I guess the sad part of this is that a lot of these could be prevented. They're preventable accidents that do take place. And so you're trying to educate the community in terms of how to help them prevent a disaster like this from happening to them.
Exactly, and the Home Fires campaign is really extremely grassroots and community-oriented. It's the most hands-on thing that we have done outside of disaster response in a long time. We are literally, with community partners, volunteer groups, going door to door in areas that have been identified as having particularly high incidence of these types of tragedy. We are educating people on how they can reduce their risk of fire, the importance of having an evacuation plan, the importance of talking to their families about what they can do to reduce that risk of fire. And if they don't have smoke alarms installed in their house, we can install them for free. If they do have smoke alarms, we can test the batteries, and if we feel that the batteries warrant replacement, we're doing that for free. So the results are, and we know that across the nation, since we have been doing this project, which started in October of 2014, we have literally saved the lives of about 38 people.
So that is significant, making a difference.
It could be higher. That's people who literally called us and said, "Thank you for installing this smoke alarm. You saved my life last night."
And there's those that didn't call.
There's those that didn't call.
But I know you're also teaming up with communities, so you're teaming up with volunteers and local elected officials. You recently did something in Bridgeton where you went door to door.
The Bridgeton project was very successful, and we also did a project in Salem County where we partnered with our community partner Meals on Wheels and literally went into the homes of their clients who really represent the most fragile and vulnerable populations. These are largely folks who are non-ambulatory and who wouldn't know about programs like this. So we were able to install smoke alarms and provide fire education to those families as well. And we've done, since we started the program, We have in the 4 counties served by the Southern Shore chapter, which are Atlantic, Cape May, Cumberland, and Salem counties, we've installed over 1,000 smoke alarms, and we have done almost 5,000 family escape plans and fire safety plans. So it's a really impressive result for our chapter.
That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you for joining us at home once again here at Latino Motion.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by AtlantiCare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.